Alrighty, so this is going to be part two of this video, and a week has elapsed uh, or has gone by since I shot my part one video. So I spent the other day um, investigating this engine some more and trying to figure out what all we had going on here. And as you can see, the Holley 600 CFM carb is on now. I have run the truck with it. I have drove the truck with it. And so far so good. I am probably going to do at least one modification to it. But for right now it's on there. I have a fuel line and a filter on here, if you can see that, temporary. Just kind of watching what the fuel looks like coming out of the tanks right now, or at least the one tank. So far, I run it up and down the road a good bit, and it hadn't sucked in anything that I can see in it, so that's good. So for those of y'all that are following this, as I mentioned last week, I needed to replace the O2 sensor, wideband O2 sensor for the AFR gauge, the fuel air to fuel ratio gauge, if you don't know what that is. And then I said I was going to look into the timing of this thing and try to figure out if the distributor was locked out and it had a real high initial timing because of that or not. So I've kind of figured a lot of that out. On the O2 sensor, I did get that swapped out, and it is working, but I have an issue with it. It works fine when you kind of just start the truck and run it, and it reads fine for a minute or two, and then it starts drifting really lean until the gauge just quits registering. I researched that online and came up with some different things that could be. A lot of people contribute to a bad O2 sensor, which I just got the O2 sensor. It's brand new. I mean, it could be bad, but it's reading about right initially, and then it kind of goes out in the weeds. I talked to somebody else about that this week, and being the nature of this cam and the amount of unburnt fuel, which means there's a lot of oxygen still there and whatnot, etc., that as that kind of shifts through the exhaust, you get a lot of air in there, and the thing thinks it's running really lean when it's really not. And so it could just be the nature of what's going on here. But even once it's warmed up, you can turn the truck off, turn it back on, and the gauge will kind of read right for 30 seconds a minute, and then it starts drifting real lean again. And I know it's not just going lean. If anything, it's still maybe running a little rich. It started up good on this carb. It run good on this carb. Seemed to be very responsive on this carb, so that was good. But before I get ahead of myself, so we got that O2 sensor in. I did have to pull some more slack on the wiring that I still need to tidy up for that connector. But on the timing, I found the timing to be pretty where it should be. I won't say the word correct, but where it should be, kind of. The distributor is not locked out. It is advancing. It is doing what it should be doing. What I found to be the problem was the mark on the balancer, timing mark, was not right. It was not TDC, or top dead center. So what I did was I pulled number one plug, put an inspection camera in there, I put a piece of tape on the harmonic balancer, and I rotated the engine over by hand until I seen number one piston just stop moving. I put a mark. Then I turned the engine some more until I seen it just start moving the other way, I put a mark. And what I did was then I put a mark in between those two marks, and that was the mark I used for the timing. It isn't 100% accurate, I get that. It's kind of the best thing I could do without other tools and things. But that gave me a mark really close to top dead center, which was a good ways off from the mark that was originally on the harmonic bouncer. Then got my timing light on there. Got the engine warmed up at idle. We were running about 18 degrees initial timing on that mark, so I'm off probably a degree or two, so plus or minus a degree, could be 16, probably more like 16 degrees. But anyway, somewhere around 18 degrees. Rev the motor up, the distributor advanced, and it was somewhere around, it quit advancing around 32 to 34 degrees. So that's where in the neighborhood of where it should be. So I did not mess with the timing. I didn't loosen the distributor. I didn't mess with it any. I just left it as is. So that mystery has been figured out. So once I got to that point, that's when I started kind of doing the carb swap. So where I'm at on the carb is, like I said, it fired up and run on it fine. I run it up down the road. I'm hoping it's not lean on top end too much. With the AFR gauge going out in the leads, I can't really tell. About the only thing I can do is listen for pinging of the engine. So I got on it pretty hard a couple times, and I thought maybe I heard a slight ping, wasn't bad. But I don't know if I need to jet it up or anything yet. I'm gonna leave it be. I feel like I need to drive it some to see. But I will say at idle, it doesn't seem to be as rich. It may still be a little rich, but it is suffering from the nature of this cam. It's needing more air, which is meaning turning the idle up, which is cracking the butterflies and exposing those transition slots that shouldn't be exposed at idle, which is pulling more fuel in that shouldn't be. So what I found was when I put this carb on, this little port right here is your manifold vacuum. Let's pull, I put an extra long plug on here, makes it easier to get, but there's a vacuum port right there straight into the manifold. And I pulled that to put my vacuum gauge on it, and to see if I had any increase in vacuum, which I did not. We're still running about 9 inches of vacuum. But as soon as I pulled this off, unlike the other carb, the idle went up. It was happy. It liked it. It liked pulling air through that hole. And it sounded smoother and whatnot. So that's telling me that it's getting the air it needs when I turned the idle back down, and not having to crack the butterfly and pulling too much fuel from the transition slots, I think. So that tells me that drilling holes in at least the primary butterflies down in the bottom down here, drilling some holes that maybe equate to, I need to, when I take this carb off, I need to figure out what size that hole is, how many thousandths it is, and then I may divide that, because I'm going to be drilling 2 holes. This is 1 hole, so I may half that and drill 2 holes, whatever that half size turns out to be. That's maybe where I start, but I may experiment with this a little bit before I do that, because once you drill them holes are drilled. I may try to set this carb in the idle where I like it, with this plug pulled out and it pulling air there first, and kind of see what I think about it, because like I said, I want to be sure that I'm going to drill these holes before I do it. The only other issue I got left going on that I would like to resolve, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to resolve, well, let me back up. There is 2 more issues. One of them I'm going to try to resolve. The truck, you let it get hot, run it, whatever, shut it off, walk away 5-10 minutes, come back. It's hard to start. It's vapor locking or whatever. The heat is getting to this carb and vapor locking, flooding it out, whatever. And you can hear it boiling in here. So I have already ordered a heat plate or heat shield to go under this carb. And it comes with a small riser that is a like phenolic material of some type to kind of isolate the carburetor from the intake so it don't transfer that heat, thermally transfer it to the carburetor. So that should help with that, hopefully, if not resolve it. Because it'd be aggravating. You row somewhere and engine's hot, you get out, go in 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever, come back out, and just you gotta wind on it till it finally decides to start back up. So I hope that's gonna resolve that. I'm just waiting on those parts to come in. I ordered some throttle linkage parts. I'm gonna try to. I don't have it came to me. It wasn't exactly right. They've just put a small screw in here, and it's not exactly in the right location on the throttle linkage. So ordered some parts that I hope fit, and I'll get them on there. So the remaining issue that I'm unsure if I'm going to be able to resolve or not, but pulling this plug and allowing more air in there may, before I drill any holes in it, I may test this theory out. Is engine's been running, it's warmed up, I turn it off, it diesels, compression fires, however you want to say it. So the engine's off, no ignition timing, nothing has anything to do with that. It's just literally there is still, and I'm going to say it's still running a little rich. I guess enough fuel in here or in this intake that it fires another time or two after I turn the key off before it completely dies. It don't run on and on. We've had some of our old C65s and stuff. We had one that get it good and hot, turn it off, and it'd till it died. But this one's just a time or two. It ain't real bad. But I'm kind of curious with this pulled out, and I kind of get the idle set and everything of this before I drill any holes. Leave this pulled off and turn it off and see if that remedies that any. Because that'd be another indication to me that going ahead and drilling those holes is going to help it. If it don't, I don't exactly know how I'm going to resolve that. I don't know how high compression the motor is. Guy that built it thought it was pretty high. That probably has a factor in it too. Because that higher compression is going to cause it to compression fire or diesel. So, I don't know. But that is kind of a summary and rundown of the investigation. So we're getting some places. So I've got like I said, when I put this heat shield and stuff on here, I'll probably reroute these fuel lines. I don't know that I want to leave a fuel filter sitting up here or not. I'd really like it to be down in here before the pump, but there's just not a lot of room down there unless I completely reroute my lines down there where the fuel pump is to get this filter in an area where I can see it good and access it easy. I mean, up here is great. It's just I hate for these little plastic filters to be up here in an area with all this heat. And also if it leaks, and it's altered, worry about fire. I have bought a braided type fuel line to run at least from here to right behind this alternator, and I don't know that I like that. I may decide to run that on down may have to cut this line, but I may run it on down lower, down here, closer to the fuel pump. It'd be nice if I had a barb fitting for that. But I don't. Need to be a 92. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rerun fuel line somehow, some way around through here. But I'll get that heat shield on here and I'll see how it's gonna look. I'm hoping not. The heat shield is a Holley part. This is a Holley intake, a Holley carb, so I'm hoping it'll all fit, but there could be some trimming involved with that shield. I'll just have to see what I have to do. But anyway, well, I guess that's your update right now. That's where I'm at. I don't know if I'm going to spend a lot of time with it today. I'm going to be probably moving over to getting the bumper off and looking at getting the bed off here soon. So there's that. I got to feed hay and do some stuff today. So may see about getting that bumper off and taking it home with me. I've got some paint for it. Anyway, I'll get into that. I won't get into that right now. I'll get into that in another video, but that's where I am on that. So I'm hoping to get this thing here to a point where I can start driving it soon. I've got some oils and stuff. I've got oil to change this. I got filter. I got a lot of little things to do. But anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.